Good morning and welcome to the new edition of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Code. The recent fatalities on the Chinese border, south of China, north of India, show the adherence of the Chinese, strict adherence, no deviation to what Sun Tzu had advised. Sun Tzu's dictum is very clear and very devious. According to Sun Tzu, the supreme act of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. Keep the tension up, fight, withdraw, fight, thereby reinforcing your unpredictability and making the enemy feel safe while he is not safe. It's stalking the enemy. And China is testing this everywhere. Near the Parcel Archipelago, China intercepted and detained Vietnamese fishing boats and declared two new municipal districts to control the disputed islands. It published Chinese names of 80 geography and underwater features in South China. China imposed a fishing moratorium on the other countries, intruded into Malaysian exclusive economic zone, crossed the meridian line in Taiwan, harassed commercial vessels of the Philippines, extended its tentacles to Australia, and of course, India always remains in its side. And what is the power potential, economy, political, social, all the power factors are utilized by China to implement Sun Tzu's dictum. And I was amazed that when 20 Indian soldiers were killed and almost 43 Chinese met their end, there was still assertion that it was a minor clash because India had intruded, forgetting that India has been patrolling this space ever since the major war. And the last time the fighting broke out was 1970s, and in 67 we had a clash at Nathula. And this time the Chinese propaganda mill came up with a new thing, that the Indian decision last year to alter the constitutional status of Jammu and Kashmir has worsened the relations, which is not so, because that's an internal affair of India. As a matter of fact, I happened to read one of the confidential notes by Wang Shida. Wang Shida is associated with the power echelons in China, and he argues that India's move last August was has forced China into Kashmir dispute, stimulated China and Pakistan to take counter actions on the Kashmir issue, and dramatically increased the difficulties in resolving the border issues between China and India. Today I have written a detailed note on what options there are. But I'll take up this first aspect, the Chinese in the erstwhile state in Jammu and Kashmir. Basically, it doesn't alter the current territorial disposition between China and Pakistan. It is indeed a pity that India's debate on Ladakh crisis is fixed in China and is finding a motive in China. As a matter of fact, official India rejects this and rightly so. But then many times I see and find it ironic that the charge of unitarianism comes from Beijing, which has turned critical parts of South China Sea into administrative districts of China and match those moves with physical steps to gain effective control. Is that a peace loving action? Delhi has taken no such action in Kashmir, nor does it anyone believe that India is in a position to immediately gain control over territories controlled by either China or India. Sorry, Pakistan. Both are in illegal control. There has been no popular suffrage. There has been no constitutional activity to ensure the acceptance of Pakistani control on Gilgit, Balstan, Azad Kashmir, or on the land gifted by Pakistan to China. As a matter of fact, China occupies a large part of Kashmir, including Aksai Chin and parts of Ladakh, and six on Shakungam Valley, which was gifted by Pakistan. And it's important to note a nuance in Chinese articulation. People are not aware that for Beijing, the territories it claims were never a part of Jammu and Kashmir. They say, but belong to Tibet, which is wrong. And that Pakistan largely swallowed this Chinese argument reflected in 1963 agreement. And that agreement it is very clear that the boundary between Chinese Xinjiang and contiguous areas, which is not under the which is under the control of Pakistan, would go to China. That was a clear indication to India that this unholy alliance would one day create a problem. Now, let me tell you one thing. I'm shocked that some Indian diplomats, or rather a large number, may not even be aware of the various factors which should be in knowledge, a part of knowledge of the Indian diplomatic corps. It has been revealed that nationalist China, before the communists came into power, at the time of Chiang Kai-shek, had tried to actively involve and draw Hunza area into China. They wanted to have a union of Hunza, which was a part of Gilgit in China, and that was in 1947-48. Immediately, India became independent and actually started much before that. The Mir of Hunza, Jamal Khan, had opened negotiations with the officials of Xinjiang. He wanted to get independence from Maharaja of Kashmir, and he started negotiating with China to join China. But the start of the Kashmir War in 1948 changed the plans, and he opted to accede to Pakistan. However, Chinese government did not abandon the efforts of national government and continued to show Hunza as a part of its territory until 1960s. As a matter of fact, in 1950s, at the height of Hindi Chini Bhai Bhai, China did not take any position on Kashmir issue. It was absolutely quiet. After the Maoist era came to a close, Deng took place, China began to moderate its position, but it found to its advantage if it has a favorable attitude towards Pakistan. It's a pity that India's debate on Ladakh crisis is fixed in China's motive, including the argument that India's constitutional changes were the trigger. The ground reality has not been altered by these constitutional challenges. But whatever the situation may be, the Chinese ability to nibble away line of actual control in Ladakh will grow. It will keep on growing as the military balance shifts. And this is nearing shifting. It's in this season, the summer and the fall, that India can take any action. And if Delhi can't redress this imbalance and Islamabad becomes more dependent on Beijing, China will loom larger than ever on Kashmir issue. So there's not only talk of the issue on the Ladakh border, but the Kashmir issue is also likely to hot up. Then, if the situation dwells further, the inroad into Sikkim. And if you remember, Mao had said, when they took over Tibet, they said that Tibet is like the palm of the hand. And there are 5 fingers. And those 5 fingers are in the control of India. Arunachal Pradesh, Sikkim, Bhutan. And then, the geopolitical situation has changed still further with Oli, the communist prime minister, playing into the hands of China. Now, what are the options for India? One thing is very clear, that until and unless China withdraws to the line of actual control, India cannot rest in peace. What should India do? It should bolster up its border defense, not only in Ladakh, but also in Nifa. At the same time, the border at in Kashmir and Punjab cannot be neglected. Let's be very clear. This is a game Chinese are playing to draw the attention, and they will keep on having the skirmishes. 5 people killed, 10 people killed, stones being thrown, and that will give an opportunity to divert its resources to north border, whereby the other border, the western border, would become an easy prey for Pakistan. Now that is their contention, whether that happens or not. If all is not quiet on the northern front, all shall also not be quiet on the western front. So India has to create a phalanx, an impenetrable defense wall on the western border, and then concentrate on north. And north extends, unfortunately, right from Kashmir, Ladakh to Nifa in northeastern. So right from the west to the east, it extends thousands of kilometers. And here, the role of the Air Force is likely to be much more crucial. At the same time, India has to put China into a least favored nation list trade. India is buying billions of dollars worth of goods from China. As a matter of fact, I don't know. The government should have taken that step first of all. No item worth even a penny is imported in India, come what may. Imagine, even in 5G, the government of India has adopted a very ambivalent attitude, which is not acceptable. They should side now very clearly with Hong Kong, with Taiwan. Why can't they learn that enemy is your best friend? And India, professedly a democracy, should support the democratic movement. It should only openly support Philippines, it's Vietnam, Taiwan, Hong Kong. The tacit support which is extended is not enough. Let China feel the prick. And Chinese hide is very thick, let me tell you very frankly. And they forget nothing. So this tacit, lukewarm support, they are not going to forget. So why not go the whole hog and say, okay, we recognize Taiwan, We recognize the right of Vietnam and Philippines on South China Sea, and we support the one country, two government system as far as the Hong Kong is concerned, and we object to Chinese tanks rolling into Hong Kong. This would make India stand out as an example of probity, integrity, and diplomacy. At the same time, India has to show that it is not dependent merely on its resources. It should immediately sign up a joint defense pact with USA. USA is the only country today which has wherewithal to support India if the comes to fight. Let me show that no country, both are nuclear armed countries, but hopefully none of them would suit. So the fight has to be on economic front. It has to be on diplomatic front. It has to be a clear preparation for hot war, shooting war. You cannot shy away. And all these professional, peaceful negotiations have no meaning. They are a camouflage. 17 Germans were killed and the Second World War started. I don't wish the war to start. Let me say very clearly, I'm not a hawk. But the options for India are limited. And then, something has to be done about the information. India is lagging behind in the information war as far as China is concerned. And some of the media is so stupid. I was watching a video sent to me by one of the prominent Indians. He sends me a video of a TV program saying that India has formulated a checker view policy of encircling China. What stupidity! A, there is no such policy, and even there is such, why talk about it? And how does this TV guy come to know of this secret military strategy? So they're losing the propaganda war. They're losing the information war. Let them gird up the loins, and while building up the resources of the information and the propaganda war, have a diplomatic thrust. India, and I was very happy to see the statement of Prime Minister Modi last evening that India would give a befitting reply if need is there. It has to show an iron hand in a velvet glove. Barring that, there is no hope. Let's remember, all's not quiet on the northern front, and all's not quiet on the western front. Strong action, diplomacy, coupled with diplomacy, coupled with economic warfare. And don't forget, economic warfare is the most important ingredient in this war. And once you do it, there'll be no reason to regret and fear the fire emitting dragon. Don't forget the ancient story of Goliath and the giant. Goliath was defeated. And little guys can always defeat so-called big guys, and India is not that little a guy. Let's be very frank. It has the third largest army in India and very well prepared. It should seek open help from Israel, open help from USA, as it did in 1971 at the time of Bangladesh. Mrs. Gandhi signed a joint defense pact with China, and that was a stumbling block in the plans of Kissinger and Nixon to support Pakistan at that time. They sent the Seventh Fleet, but the Seventh Fleet turned back because Russia was there as a big brother. Today we may not need big brother, but we need brothers all right. We need friends. So that's why I'm saying diplomacy. And the thrust of war has to be both on defense and offense. And the other aspect offensive economic war. This way, India can hope for success. Let's see what the government does and be prepared for everything. Thank you.